Hey everybody, Clint Seeley here, coming to you today with my first vlog series. What do we call this thing? Driving down the road with Clint? I don't know. I get questions in my inbox or in my my Facebook Messenger or at a Unique Scuba to the Facebook page every so often. I used to get a lot more than I do now because I was a lot more active in social media. But as we know, social media is the devil. So I try not to do a lot of internet dives these days because there are so many keyboard experts. It's tough. It's tough to navigate what's real and what's not real. And it's even harder to stay out of fights. Anything that comes out of your mouth these days is going to make someone mad. But I don't want to just completely ignore these questions because there's some good ones. Also some hot topics that I see being discussed. So I thought, I go reel diving quite a bit. And I'm on the way to Lake Denton right now to do some dive master training. It's about just a little bit over an hour drive. And I see these other people on the YouTube and the Facebook, they just throw their phone in a cradle and record conversations that they have with their phones. And I thought, that's really underproduced. That's really amateur. So that's right up my alley. So here we go. Probably one of the questions that I'm asked by independent instructors a lot is regarding a merchandising policy. Have you heard this word? What is a merchandising policy? Is it good? Is it bad? Do I agree with it? Is it a mixture of both? Are there good and bad? And the answer to that is yes. Good and bad, pros and cons. From my point of view, that's what I'm going to give you, my opinion. I've worked for stores in the past that have merchandising policies, and for the most part, they did it right. I've seen other stores that have gotten it completely wrong. Completely wrong. And so I'm going to discuss what that is. I got a message not too long ago from a independent instructor. And when I say independent, what I mean is, if you are teaching for a dive shop, if you are teaching their classes, maybe you're only doing a few a year, maybe you're doing a bunch, but if you're teaching the classes and they are paying you as a 1090 subcontractor, you are not an employee of that dive shop. You never have been and you never will be a dive shop employee. Now, do you hang out at the dive shop a lot? Do you help out? Do you do a lot of work for them for free? Yeah, that's what dive shops do. They're going to exploit you, and you're going to have a good time getting exploited. But they get a lot of free work out of you. They pay you as a 1090. They don't want you to tell the tax man about that, trust me. If the IRS knew what they were doing, not so good. Because they treat you like an employee. You have to conform to whatever it is they say you have to conform to. Or you get no worky. And you think, well, how can a dive shop do that? Well, the agencies give the retail dive stores a lot of power because you have to affiliate with a retail dive shop. Okay? Since you have to affiliate with a retail dive shop, you can't teach without being affiliated with a retail dive shop, and they're not going to let you affiliate with them unless you do what they say you're going to do. So, darned if you do, darned if you don't. Here you are, faced with a situation where you want to teach scuba, you want to hang out at the dive shop. There are a lot of people that come in and out of there that you really like these people. You like going on your weekend warrior trips, but they sell absolute garbage equipment in their dive shop. And now they're telling you, look, buddy, if you're going to teach these classes, you're not going to be wearing that good stuff. because then your students are going to want to go buy that good stuff. We're selling crap in our dive shop. So you need to be wearing that crap so the student thinks it's good crap and they can buy that junk from us. Comprende? Or you know teachy. All right. So that's a merchandising policy. That's a merchandising policy backed up by a tremendous amount of leverage that the agency rewards the brick and mortar stores. And it's no wonder we lose so many quality instructors, or they hop to the other side where they can straight up be an independent instructor. Now that's how a merchandising policy is done wrong. The dive shop, the retail store says, look, you have to wear the equipment that we sell. No questions asked. Well, they get a lot of pushback from that. And that might be a situation that you find yourself in, and I certainly understand that. How do you convince them to change? I don't know. We have a lot of people in this business, in this industry, and they are not sophisticated business people. These are hobbyists. These are lovers of scuba who have had it in their mind, this dream, their whole life, or since they started diving, this dream, this fantasy, that they're going to one day open their own dive shop or buy a dive shop. And then they're going to go sailing off into the sunset. Well, it doesn't take too long before they realize, oh man, this isn't all it was cracked up to be, because I've got rent to pay, I've got overhead. My goodness, we're operating out of a retail space. We need to sell retail. So you got to understand, you also have to understand where they're coming from. They've painted themselves into a corner where they got to sell equipment. So they have to institute a merchandising policy. And they want to set whatever they can buy a ton of on sale, because they're told in these business seminars, narrow and deep. So you buy 200 of the same regulator, 200 of the same BC, get it at a really low price, make all your instructors wear the stuff, and then put it on mannequins and sell. Well, but what if that equipment is no good for you? What if you have a hard time teaching in that, or you think it's garbage, or you don't like the brand because it's a garbage brand? Well, that could be a problem. You might have to move on. Or, in a positive way, in a encouraging way, and it may take some time, convince the owner to have a once-a-year meeting with the instructional staff. Get all of the educators together, and you guys and gals all sit down and talk about education and the way that you want to teach people to safely scuba dive. That's where you need to start. You don't walk and run into their office and say, look, this equipment is garbage. If you put negative out there, you're going to get negative back. If you try to approach it from an educational format, you might have better luck. And so you get this meeting together, and hopefully you're not the only instructor that believes in teaching a better way, a different way, teaching more to students. If you're watching this video, you probably like wing and backplate systems. Okay, that's a good place to start. Say you want to blend a wing and backplate system into the retail store. You need to reassure that store owner that this is not technical equipment. Okay? But everybody's doing it, and there's a reason why. Could we just talk about getting a wing and backplate system? Could we talk about a necklace regulator? Can we talk about a 5-foot long hose? Teaching a different way. Okay? Evolving our teaching methods so we can get our students up off our knees. As soon as you convince other instructors, as soon as you convince a store owner that we want to teach neutrally buoyant skills, they will come around on the rest of it. But if you go in there and say, look, this equipment's garbage, you're going to get pushback. You're going to have to move on. You say, look, I want to get these students off their knees. We can teach if we just have a slightly different equipment configuration, if we balance out our equipment systems, we can accomplish this. We can be different than everybody else. We can be better than everybody else. Start there and get the manager or the owner to start coming around, and those equipment systems that are on mannequins that all have the same BC, maybe one of them you can get a wing and back plate on. Maybe you can convince them to do a 5-foot long hose. On my systems, I have a left ported regulator that sits right here on the necklace. It's left ported, and so that hose actually comes under my armpit. I use an angle adapter. It comes under my armpit. It's nice and tidy and completely out of the way. So it comes off the left-hand side. It's tremendously hard for a prospective student to go out and shop that. They're not going to walk into any other dive shop that has left ported regulators hanging off the neck like that. If they shop for it online, those are pretty expensive regulators. So that's one way that I'm able to distinguish myself as being different. Of course, the name of my business is Unique Scuba. I don't do that just to be different. I do that because, believe it or not, that's originally the way that I was taught back in the early 90s. In the early 90s, I went through the NASDS system. They're now gone. They blended into SSI, I believe in 99. But I was originally taught with my, we called it a safe second back then, coming off the left-hand side. I just never changed. The entire industry changed. And so now when people see it, it looks a little bit weird. But here's a news flash. Back in the day, in the old school, we didn't have jacket BCs either. No, these wing and back plates that everybody's talking about, these modular BCs with the harness and a wing on the back, this is nothing new. This stuff has been around a long time. Things are just starting to come full circle back to the old school because, I believe, because of the power of social media and the network of educators that are out there collaborating together. They're finding what really is a better way to teach scuba to new scuba students. And it's kind of exciting to see. But let's get back to merchandising policy. So I have a left ported regulator here. Okay, the line is ran down under my armpit. It's nice and tidy. If I need to deploy my long hose, I don't even have to look for my necklace regulator. Boom, it just goes up here just like this. One of the benefits of that being off the left is, especially for new divers, that you're running through a long hose system, whether it's a 7-foot or like I do, I just do 5-foot because recreationally we're not doing penetration dives, and 5-foot I found is real nice. That 5-foot hose comes under the armpit, across the chest, around the neck, and with an angle adapter it sits perfect in the mouth. So we go boom, we deploy like this, we do our S drill underwater. There's no chance for those two to tangle up because I don't have both of my hoses off the right hand side. There's only one hose here, so we've removed that entanglement issue with having the left ported regulator. But one way to really sell that to your dive shop owner or your manager, because if they're in the mindset of merchandising policy, it would be easy to convince them, hey, look, this system, not only is it superior, it completely distinguishes you away from your competition as being unique, all right? If these students go through the program and they got the 5-foot long hose with the angle adapters and the left ported regulator, if they walk into your competitors' dive shop, they're not going to see the same stuff. They're not going to see anything that remotely looks like it. They're going to have a hard time shopping you. Same thing online. They're going to have a hard time finding that 5-foot long hose and that left ported regulator. All right? Now, that's just a benefit. Being unique is just a benefit. The system is superior. It's a quality system. Let's not lose sight of that. So everybody wins. That's how you do a merchandising policy correctly. You sit down with the educators, and if you get quality equipment on the sales floor that's configured the way that it needs to be to teach a quality program, and all of your educators, your dive masters and your instructors believe in that equipment, like that equipment, all right? If it wasn't for the merchandising policy, that's the equipment they'd want to be in anyway. That's when magic happens on the sales floor. Because when you have consistency throughout the retail store, and you have that same consistency with your educational staff, and they all believe in that stuff, that equipment, and that merchandising policy, when there's no resistance or pushback to it, then you're going to sell a ton of equipment, and everybody's going to be better as a result. So that's how you do a merchandising policy correctly. You let the educational staff and the training methodology depict what's represented on the sales floor, and then you have consistency throughout, as opposed to that store owner throwing junk on the equipment or throwing junk on the sales floor and trying to tell everybody they have to wear it or else. That's no way to do business. So that's merchandise. That's my opinion and my views on a merchandising policy. I'm a little long-winded. This is just a vlog, totally unproduced. So I hope it was helpful. All right, this is Clint Seeley signing out. Let's go diving.